Hello, my name is Shannon Busey. I'm a professional service consultant with HireVue, and welcome to HireVue 101 training for Next Level Exchange. For today's agenda, we're going to talk for about an hour about the HireVue platform. We're going to start off with a candidate experience. I'm going to walk you through the exact process that your candidates are going to be going through. And then I'm going to show you, the user, how you're going to be able to go into the platform and view, evaluate, and share those interviews. And then we'll have time for a quick wrap up right at the end. But before we get started with the training, I want to talk about support for just a second. You have a huge support system behind you as you go through this implementation with HireVue. If you have any questions whatsoever about the administration of HireVue, simply email hirevue@nextlevelexchange.com. If you have any training support questions, do not hesitate to reach out to the three of us, myself, Aaron Jacobs, or Chad Beam. We are more than happy to help you out as you go through this process and start to learn how to use the HireVue tool. And lastly, as you start to invite candidates to take interviews, if they have any questions whatsoever, please refer them to HireVue. We have a 24/7 global support desk, and we're happy to help your candidates. The information is on the screen, but it's also on the invitation that your candidates get to take a digital interview, and you can always reference back to that email. Now, to get started, the first thing you need to know is how to log into the HireVue tool. So what you're seeing on your screen is the Next Level Exchange landing page. And so the landing page is your doorway into HireVue. And you can access this page directly if you look right here. Just type in nextlevelexchange.hirevue.com. And then once you come to this login page, simply put in your work email address and your password. If you ever forget your password, that's okay. Simply click on this Forgot Password button and we'll get it reset for you very quickly. So once you have successfully logged into HireVue, it's going to bring you to your home screen, which is going to look just like this. The first thing you're going to notice is action items. So this is going to be a list of all the items that are requiring your immediate attention. Just to the right of this, we have a calendar, and there's three things that populate on this calendar for you. The first one is any live interviews that you create. The time of those interviews will be put on your calendar. The second thing is as you start to invite candidates to take on-demand interviews, when they complete those, that also is going to populate on your calendar. And it's going to look like this. You'll see a green box, and if I click on that, it's going to tell you the name of the candidate, the position that they've applied for, the time that they took the interview. If there's a resume or a document attached, it'll be listed right here. And then anytime you see a play button in HireVue, that means you can watch the interview directly from there. And the third thing that populates on your calendar is when you create a position, an on-demand video position, you have the opportunity to put an end date on it. And if you put an end date on a position, it's going to populate on the calendar and let you know that on this date, this position will be ending. Now, if we look down just a little bit, you see a section called My Open Positions. These are all the positions that you yourself have created. It's going to give you the name of the position, the type of interview it is, whether it's on demand or live, the last update to that position, the number of interviews that have been completed, the number of interviews that have been evaluated, and then you have three options under actions. So the first action is to be able to view a position detail. So what that means is it's going to tell you what candidates have taken the interview and what hiring managers have evaluated them. The next button is going to tell you how that position was set up. So it's going to tell you what questions were used and then the format that it was in. And then finally, you see this play button. So anytime, again, that you see a play button, that means you can watch those interviews. Now, lastly, on the home page is this filter box. And you're going to see one of these on every page that we go to. You can always filter by name. So if you're looking for a position that has the word test in the title, just type that word in, and whatever has that in the title will come right to the top of your list. And then the other option is a sort by option. So this is actually a drop down. So if I click on this button here, these give me all the different ways I can sort this list of positions. And obviously you're going to pick whichever way works best for your process flow. So let's go ahead and start by creating a brand new position. To create a new position in HireVue, you simply need to click on this big blue button here that says New Position right above your calendar. Now this is going to take you to the position setup screen, and the first thing you're going to need to do is title this position that you're getting ready to create. Now it's important that you make sure this title matches your job posting. You want to make sure your candidate's comfortable that they know that the interview they're getting ready to take is indeed the one that they've applied for. So in this case, we're just going to label this test. Now to the right-hand side here where it says no due date, this is your opportunity to put an end date or an expiration date on this position. And if you do so, that date will fill in on your calendar on your homepage as we've already talked about, and it also is going to default into the invitation your candidate receives when you invite them to take this interview. And again, no due date just means this position will never expire. And your candidate on the invitation, it's going to say you have 3 business days to finish this interview. However, if you do get a call from your candidate saying it's been 4 days and I really want to take this interview, it actually did not expire. So they can use that original invitation that you sent them. So the next option you have is this Enable OpenView link. OpenView was originally designed as a sourcing tool. So every time you create a position, you're going to get a specific URL link for this position, and you can also get a QR code. Both are great tools for sourcing and for campus recruiting and career fairs. You can put this URL link on LinkedIn or any social media site that you may use. And again, the QR code can be printed on cards, on business cards, on shirts, whatever you like. You can be creative as you'd like to be with this. And all the candidate has to do is click on that URL link or scan the QR code, and they can take this interview that you're getting ready to create. Now the next section here, you get to determine what type of interview you're going to create. For this one, we're going to do an on-demand, but if it was going to be live, you would simply select live. Scoring mode, you have 2 options here. You can do it per candidate, which means you're going to watch the entire interview in its total and then give your candidate an overall recommendation for hire and a score, or you can do it per question, which means as your candidate answers questions, you're going to score them per question or per answer. And I highly recommend you select this one. And as we go through the evaluation process, I'll show you why this one's important. And then lastly, on candidate visibility, you have several options here. The first one is to keep private between you and your administrator, which means all of your candidates and positions will only be able to be seen by you and your administrator. The next one is to share within my team, which is what you want to do. You're going to only share these candidates and the interviews within your team, which is Next Level Exchange. Now the next section we're coming to is the candidate experience. So once you've invited a candidate to take an interview, they're going to go through the setup process, and then you have the opportunity to show them a video. This is your first chance to really talk to them, tell them about your organization and the position they're applying for, and maybe you even can talk about the process of applying for a job with you. So to add a video is very simple. You simply click on this Add a Video button, and as you add videos, you're going to be adding them to your library. So if you have one video that you use often, that's fine. It'll be here for you anytime. And then to record a video, that's also very simple. You simply click on this Record a Video, and you can simply sit in front of your computer and talk to the camera just like you're talking to your candidate. But in this case, I've already selected this video, so I'm going to go ahead and do that. And the process is the same for the closing video, and just know that the video libraries do not mix. So you'll have a library for your closing videos and a library for your opening videos. So let me go ahead and select this one. And now it's time to start adding some questions. You have several different options here to add questions. The one we're going to spend the most time on is New Question. So we're going to be adding a question from scratch. And the first question we're going to ask is one that we probably all ask. Why did you apply for this position? So you have 2 options on the right-hand side. You can add a video for the candidate to respond to. So if you're going to ask more of a customer service type question, you have maybe a customer service training video you'd like to put in here, you can certainly do that. Or you can click on this and you can actually ask the question yourself. You can say, my name is Shannon and I'm your recruiter, and why did you apply for this position? Again, this is another fantastic way to get your candidate really engaged in this process. Now the other option is to add a photo to the question. So say for instance, you may want to put up an Excel sheet, and if you're hiring maybe an analyst, you can say, what do you see trending on this Excel sheet? So another great way to use this tool. Now the other option is right over here to the left-hand side. If I click on this, I can actually insert a link into the question. And why this is a neat option is if you're hiring maybe like a web designer, you can put in a link and you can ask the web designer to go out there and check out that link and ask how they would design that page differently. It opens up a new page in the browser as well, so they won't lose their place in the interview. Now you also have several different options for candidate response. You can have an essay response, multiple choice, and multiple selection. I'm going to talk about those 3 here in just a moment. But for this one, we're going to do a video response. Now, the prep time is totally configurable, so you can make this be whatever you want it to be. The prep time is that time that the candidate has to read the question and formulate an answer. Now, if you prefer not to give them a limited amount of prep time, you can simply click on no limit here, and then they can take all the time in the world. We recommend you keep it as the default is 30 seconds though. On the right-hand side here is the response time. So this is how much time your candidate has to respond to the question. We find that most candidates answer questions within 1.5 to 2 minutes. So a default of 3 minutes is totally adequate. So if we like how this position, or excuse me, how this question is set up, I'm going to go ahead and click Save and add another, because we will be adding another question. So I'm going to go back up to the top and add another question from scratch. So this question is going to be, what days of the week can you work? So down here, what we're going to do is we're going to talk about this multiple selection and multiple choice, okay? So what you're going to do here is give your candidates a bank of answers they have to pick from. So I'm just going to abbreviate and do Monday, Tuesday. You can add as many as you'd like to simply by clicking the Add option button here. So I'll do Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Being that this is multiple choice, your candidate has to pick one of these answers, and you can even define the correct answer if you like. So we'll say the correct answer here is Tuesday. And if you look over to the response time, it defaults in at no time limit on multiple choice and multiple selections. Most people leave it like this, but if you wanted to put a response time limit on here, simply unclick that, and you can make this be whatever you want it to be. Now the other option I mentioned was multiple selection. So the difference between the two is you're going to give your candidate the same bank of answers to pick from, but they can pick multiple answers, not just one. So we'll say we're finished with this question. We're going to save and add another, and we'll do one more. So this next question will say, give us your best tweet. Okay, so for this one, as I said, we're going to do an essay response. And we're going to limit the characters that your candidates have to reply to. So obviously with Twitter, it's going to have to be limited to 140 characters. Now another option we have here is to default text in. So what's so important about defaulting text in is that you can have text, say maybe a writing sample or some kind of executive letter, and you want this person to either correct it or maybe add to it. This is a perfect way to do it. So it's a great way for maybe an administrative assistant type position to really see what the writing skills are and the editing skills of that person. And then over on the right hand side, again, on essay questions, it does default in as a no time limit on response time, but you can always change that if you'd like to. So that's all the questions I'm going to add for this position. So I'm going to click Save. Okay, so I've just clicked Save. Now, a couple of things here that are really fun. First of all, if you like your questions, but maybe you don't like the order, you can simply move them around. It's very simple to change that. Okay, so the other thing in Higher View, remember that anytime you see a pencil, that means you can edit whatever's next to it. In this case, I can edit this question. For instance, if I see a typo, it would be very simple to fix. And then anytime you see an X in Higher View, if you click it, it'll delete it. Now, let's say that we like the order and we're feeling pretty comfortable about this, so I'm going to save this question template, so if I'd like to use it again, I don't have to recreate the wheel. So we'll say this is a test template 8, and I'm going to save that. So now if I went back over here to add questions, if you see the second one, it says from a question template. So if I clicked on that, there is my question template that I just saved. Okay, now the third option was to pick a question or pick questions from a previous position. So if I click here, it's going to list all the positions that I've created. I can simply select one and then add the questions, which I'll do. So now what you can see is I have another 3 questions from the previous position. Now just because we've added these questions, that doesn't mean we cannot edit them, because we can. Because if you notice, we have our edit pencil here. So I could easily go in and change anything I need to about these questions, and then I can save that as a template too. So, but I'm going to go ahead and delete these. So now that I'm finished with this position, I've got my intro and closing videos in, I have my questions in, I'm going to go ahead and save it. So on this next screen, you have several options. The first thing I want to show you is the QR code. So if I click on the share button and go to QR code, this is that code I was talking about. All you'd have to do is download this, and then from there you can print it on whatever you'd like to. You can also set up schedule reminders for this position. So if I clicked on schedule reminders, I'm going to go ahead and send them out starting on the date that you can select whatever date you want. It defaults in the date that you create this. And down here, anything in a box is configurable. So we're going to have our schedule reminders repeat every 3 days, and the candidate's going to receive a maximum of 2 reminders, and they will not receive a reminder if it's been less than 2 days since the original invitation. And again, all of this is totally configurable, so you can make it be whatever you want it to be, and you do these reminders per position. So why that's important is because if you see down here it says custom message for reminder. So what you can do is say, hi, my name is Shannon. I'm your recruiter for this position of test, and we can't wait to see your video. It's, again, another great way to get your candidate engaged and make sure that they do take their interview that you'd like them to. And schedule reminders is something that you can set up at a later date. So again, if this is something you forget to do at the position setup, you can always come back later. Okay, so it's time to invite candidates to take our position. Now we have 2 options here. You can upload candidates in bulk, which means all you have to do is put your candidates on an Excel spreadsheet, and it needs to look just like this. You have to have the headers as first, last, email, and you have to have a header as a phone number, but you do not need to add the phone number, just need to have the header there. And you can do up to 1,000 candidates at one time by doing it this way. And once you have your Excel spreadsheet in place, simply save it as a CSV file, and then you can upload it. Now your other option is to invite candidates one by one, which is what we're going to do. So I'm going to click on this blue button here that says Add Candidates. I'm going to put in our candidate's name. And again, all you need is the first name, last name, and email address. You have the option of adding a phone number, website, or any other documents. If you want to add a resume, cover letter, or anything of that nature, you can do it here. So this is the only candidate we're going to add. So I'm going to simply select Save here. And now we're just going to wait for our candidate to take our interview. So this is the exact email your candidates are going to get, inviting them to take an interview that you've just invited them to. It's going to say Interview with Next Level Exchange. It's going to have the job that they've applied for. It's going to have the duration of the interview. And then it's also going to have tips for success, which takes them to our website and gives them a couple of ideas of what they can do to improve their digital interviewing experience. And then if you remember, we did not put an end date on the position, so here's where it defaults in the 3 business days that I mentioned. And then also right below this, it gives your candidate a little bit more information about what digital interviewing is. Obviously, this is going to be probably a new process for them, so this will give them some more information. And on the right-hand side here is where all the really important information is. Everything I'm talking about today can be done on a mobile device. And so this first little section tells your candidate how they can go to the App Store and download the correct app. Right below that is if they're going to take this interview on a PC or Mac, it gives them or tells them what the required equipment is going to be. And then the most important piece of information is right here, 24/7 global support. So if your candidate has any questions, any issues whatsoever, they're always welcome to give us a call. And this is the information I referenced on the PowerPoint right as we got started with today's training. Okay, so if I'm a candidate, I'm going to go ahead and hit this big red button that says Start Interview Setup. So this is the welcome page that your candidates see after they've clicked the Start Interview Setup. It's going to tell them their name, the position they've applied for, the name of the company, the estimated length of the interview, and then it gives them the opportunity to go ahead and start this interview setup, which is what we're going to do. So they have to agree to the terms and conditions, which we'll do. Now they get to see that welcome video that we put in. Again, this is a great way really to get your candidates engaged from the very beginning.
After almost a decade and a half in this.
All right, so we'll go ahead and continue. Now the next thing it's going to do is test my system to make sure that I am able to do this interview. So we'll go ahead and let it do that. All right, it should be just about done here. There we go. All right, well, hey everybody. So this is your candidate's first opportunity to see themselves. So they can kind of look around, see if they're comfortable with the lighting, see if they're comfortable with how they look. And they have 2 options here. They can go ahead and do a practice question, which is this big red button you see here. We're obviously driving them to go do that, or they can go skip to the regular interview. So let's go ahead and try a practice question. And this is just reminding the candidate they only have 1 try to respond to those recorded videos. All right, so this is the format of the interview. So this really gives your candidate a chance to see what they're going to be looking at when they get into the real interview. The question's always on the left-hand side. The prep time is right above the video screen. This is that time that we talked about when we set up the position that is configurable. This is how long they have to reply to the question, and then again, as a default, it comes in as 3 minutes unless we change it. And then it's just reminding us that we have no retries. And then there's another option here that says hide video. So for some reason your candidate's not real comfortable seeing themselves on camera, they can simply click that button and a little curtain will come down, so they'll just see a shadow of themselves. So let's go ahead and start our practice question. Okay, so as you can see, my prep time's counting down, and I need to look at this question and come up with a good reason about why my experience in the background would be a good fit for this job. So we'll say I've done that. I will click Start Recording. All right, so now it's recording me, and I'm going to come up with a great reason why I would be a good fit for this position. So we'll say I've done that. I'm going to click Done Answering, and now I get to review the recording. So a couple things to keep in mind here is that, first of all, this is the only opportunity your candidates have to go back and review what they've done. They cannot do this in the real interview. The second thing to remember is that they can do as many of these practice questions as they like to. So they can sit here all day and do this if they wish. But we're going to go ahead and start this interview process, which is the big red button here. And if they did want to go do another practice question, obviously they'd click on the one right below that. Okay, so the first question is a video response. Why did I apply for this position? My prep time is counting down, so let's go ahead and start the recording. And keep your eye on this button too. You're going to notice that it goes away. I can't stop this recording right now, and that's kind of a safety net we have in place. Just in case the candidate double clicks on accident, they're going to still be able to answer this question because they do have to talk for 10 seconds. Perfect. Okay, so let me show you this hide video button. So if I click on this hide video, you can see that curtain comes down as I mentioned, but again, you will not see that curtain. Only your candidate sees that. Okay, so let's click Done Answering. Now it's prompted me to go to the next question, and why that's important for your candidate, they don't have to do this whole interview at one time. They can actually stop and walk away and come back. So for some reason, maybe my dogs are barking, somebody's at the door, or I just need a break, I can do that, and then I'm going to be able to pick up right where I left off and move forward. Okay. All right, so the next one's multiple selection. What days of the week can you work? We'll say I can work on Tuesdays. We'll click Done Answering, go to the next question. And this is that essay response. Give us your best tweet. Okay, we'll say, can't wait to start using HireVue. Hashtag awesome. All right, so we'll click Done Answering here. Go to the next question, and here's our closing video. All right, so I just pulled this off of YouTube.
We work with search and staffing
All right, so that's it. Okay, so now we're back on the home screen. So as you can see, there's been an update under My Open Positions. That test position we created has been added. And as you can see, it says out of the interviews sent, one has been completed, but none of them have been evaluated, obviously, because we haven't evaluated it quite yet. Okay, so let's talk about these tabs you see on top. We have positions, evaluations, and candidates. So remember, My Open Positions are all those positions that you yourself have created. When you go to the Positions tab, these are all the positions you have visibility to, which may be slightly different than those on your home screen. And as you move forward with HireVue, this list may get kind of lengthy, but don't let that worry you. You have those two same sorting options that you do on your home page. So you can always look for a candidate, or I'm sorry, you can always look for a position by name, or you can use those same sorting options that I showed you on the home screen. You can also archive a position. So if you've created a position, you filled it, you can simply archive it, and your list of archived positions will always be here. And then under Actions, you will have the opportunity to reopen it if you need to. So let's go back to the open positions, and remember, anytime you see a play button in HireVue, that means you can watch an interview. So we're going to go to this test position, and we're going to hit the play button, and I'm going to show you how to evaluate interviews. Okay, so starting from left to right, the first thing you notice is you can filter candidates by name. As I mentioned, on almost every screen we go to, you will be able to filter by name. You can also sort your candidates here. You can sort them by any number of items, by random, first name, last name, most recent, but the two you really want to look for is my rating and my recommendation, and I'm going to tell you why those are important in just a second. Now, if we move to the right-hand side here, you see a line of numbers. These represent the questions that were in the interviews that were created. And as you can see, I'm jumping around quite a bit. And what that means is that you do not have to watch this interview in order. You can watch it in whatever order you like to. In fact, we really recommend that you start with the question that's the most important to you. So in this case, we'll say it's question number 2. Okay, so what days of the week can you work? And let's say we're really looking for somebody who can work on a Saturday or Sunday. So this top candidate cannot work on Saturday or Sunday, so I gave them 1 star for this answer. And as you continue to evaluate your candidates and rate them per question, you'll be building an average rating for your candidate that you'll see up here. And if you remember back when we created the position and I said it's really important to be able to score or rate per question, this is why. Okay, and then I also mentioned that we have a speed evaluation tool. And if you see this up arrow here and this down arrow here, this is exactly what that tool looks like. So we're on question number 2 on our top candidate over here. Her name is Erin. So I'm going to scroll down and see how Chad answered the question. He can work on Saturday and Sunday, which is great because that's what we need. So I gave him 5 stars. And now we're going to go down and see how Phil answered. Well, he cannot, so he got 1 star. Okay, so let's go to the next question. We'll say that one's number 1, and this is a video response. So with a video response in HireVue, it's just like watching a YouTube video. It's very simple. You can play, you can pause, and then you can change the volume or make it the full screen. Okay? So as we watch this video...
The reason I applied to this position is I think that this is actually a very good fit for my background.
Perfect. So as you can see, and it will be more clear when you see this live. Obviously, being recorded, there is a slight delay. But as he's talking, we're going to say that he answered okay, so we'll give him 2 stars. And again, we're building this average rating. And then I also want to point out this tagging feature. Tagging is really a neat tool. What you can do is tag your candidates with bona fide occupational qualifications. Okay, so I'm going to hit this tag button, and I've already tagged him with relocate and 3 years experience. So I'm going to tag him again, and we'll say he also has an MBA. So these tags are going to live with him throughout his life in HireVue, and those tags are searchable. I'm going to show you that and show you what a neat tool this is. Okay, so let's go back to the speed evaluator. So we're going to now go up to Chad and see how he answered this question. Okay, so we'll say he's talking, and I want to give him 2 stars, and I'm going to click this left arrow here, so don't let that worry you. So again, we're building his average rating, and so now we're going to go up to Erin, and we gave her 5 stars for her response. Okay, so something to keep in mind here, that as you continue to evaluate your candidate, you do not have to watch this whole interview to determine whether this candidate's viable or not. At this point, we may scroll down to Phil, and we know that he cannot work the schedule we need, and we didn't like his video response, so he may not be a viable candidate for us. So I'm going to go ahead and do my recommendation for hire as no on Phil. And then as we scroll up, we'll say, Chad, well, he did okay. He's not our best candidate, but he's still in the running of does not accept the position. Okay, so I put a maybe for him. And then when we scroll up to Erin, and we think she's our best candidate, so I gave her a yes for recommendation for hire. So let's go back over here to sorting. Okay, so you can do 2 things here. You can sort by your rating, which is the order that they're in, and then you can also sort by my recommendation. So if you expand this out and think of if you had maybe 30 or 40 candidates that you're evaluating, you can see what a valuable tool that is. As you go through and rate those candidates, you can continue to rate them, sort them by that rating, and then your top candidates will bubble to the very top of your list, and those are the ones you want to spend the most time on. And then once you've identified those top candidates, you're going to want to share them. Okay, so we're on Erin here. She's our top candidate. So right under the tag button, if you see the evaluators button, if I click on this, I can share this with one of my hiring managers or one of my clients. So we're going to say Chuck is one of my managers that I want to share the interview with. His information defaults in, and all I have to do is click add, and it'll go right to him. Now, if your person you want to send it to is not in HireVue, so there's no Ann here. Oops, actually there is an Ann here. Why don't we try, we'll try Bobby. Okay, so there's no Bobby. So what we'll do is we'll make an email address for Bobby. At Gmail. Okay, and then all they have to do is his first name's already in here, so put his last name in, click add, and this will get sent to him. Very simple to do that. So that is how you view, rate, and evaluate and share your interviews that you're going to be receiving. So let's go back. So that's the positions tab. Again, it's the list of positions you have visibility to. When you click the play button, you'll be able to evaluate all those candidates who've taken interviews for that position. So let's go to the evaluations tab. So this lists all the evaluations you have to do. So under the to-do tab, we still have to evaluate the one that we just did. And obviously to do that, you can click on this Start Evaluating button or the play button. And again, we have a search box here. So if you do have a long list of candidates, don't let that worry you. You can always search by name. Now, we also have a completed button here. So these are all the ones that we just completed. And as you can see, even though they're completed, there's a play button here. So even though you've completed that evaluation, you can still watch that interview again. Now, what makes an interview go from to do to completed is pretty simple. You have to rate at least one question and give a final recommendation for hire. And once you do those two things, use those two evaluation tools, the evaluation will switch from to do to completed. Okay? All right, so let's go to the candidates tab now. As with the positions tab, I said in the positions tab, those are all the positions you have visibility to. Same thing with the candidates. These are all the candidates that you have visibility to. So again, you're going to end up with a very long list of candidates here, but do not let that worry you. You can always search by name. You have this great sorting function here. But on this tab, you also have a filter, and this filter is probably what you're going to use, and it's really a fantastic tool. You can search for tags. So if you remember, we had put some tags on people. So I'm going to click on relocate. So if I want to search for all the people that I said could relocate, here comes Phil because we had tagged him with that. Okay. So I'm going to click the X to take that filter off. So I'm going to click the filter button again. So let's say we wanted to filter all those candidates by what position they applied for. So we'll say we want to see everybody who applied for this test position, who Mike invited. And maybe we also want only people with an MBA. And then also we only want people who've applied within the last 15 days. And I can click done, and then there's Phil again. Okay, so I want to again X one more time here and go back to the filter. The one last thing I wanted to show you on this filter is that if you create one that looks kind of like what I just did, you can actually save the filter where it says save this filter. Then you can name it filter 3 and click save. So if that's something that you're going to be using all the time, it's very easy just to put those parameters in there, save it, and then go to load filter, and then it's right there for you. So you don't have to put in those parameters again. So two more things I want to show you on how to use HireVue. If you've noticed as we've gone through the system, there's been a search box on this top bar, and it's always here, it never goes anywhere. And this allows you to search for a candidate. So let's say, for instance, we want to find somebody whose name is Shannon. Well, Shannon's interviewed for 2 positions, and here they are, so you can simply click on it and go right to it. You also can search for those tags. So if you know you need somebody who can relocate and you're using the tags and using that word relocate, simply put it in here, and then the candidate with that tag will pop right up for you. And you may have a long list, but there's a lot of value there. If you're sitting at your desk and you have a client call and say, hey, I have to have somebody with an MBA, all you have to do is type in MBA, and you can say, hey, I have 5 candidates for you, I'll send them right over. Fantastic tool. Okay, so the last thing I want to show you is this question mark. And this is actually information we went over during the PowerPoint. This first section is the hub, and the hub is a HireVue community. So I highly urge that you go to the hub, sign in, and you can see how other HireVue users are using our system. But what I really wanted to show you is HireVue support. So I know I gave you a long list of support options at the beginning, but again, if you ever need us, please call us. We have 24/7 support, so you can call us, you can email us, anything that you need, we're going to be here to support you. Well, thank you for your time today, and I hope you found this valuable. And again, if you have any questions whatsoever about HireVue, please reach out and let us know.